Final hour overdrive continues. Brought to you by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line of the final score. Best bets later in the hour. Mackenzie Hughes coming up in a moment. The Jays losing again this afternoon. They dropped both games to Philly. Kyle Schwarber, he hit another home run this afternoon. He had 3 last night. He had another one this afternoon. What a game that was last night. That was an awesome ball game.
Man.
And, you know, these are tough for the Jays. Like, it's a day game. Their season's effectively over. Kids are back in school. People are back in a kind of a working routine.
Tough sledding right now. Boy.
Yeah. Tough. Like, you're just waiting to get to the end of the year. That's
I wanted to ask
what it basically is.
And I heard Steve Phillips and yourself doing some things on SportsCenter. You were doing your thing. And the idea, they were terrible this year, and they did the right thing. They dismantled it. They blew it up. But I found the comments to be a bit rich, where they were like, whether it was Steve's thought or opinion, where it's like they believe the comment would be they believe they can win in 2025, meaning next season.
Next year.
Yeah, Shapiro.
You're telling me
When what?
that this group of kids with Vladdy and maybe Bo and that pitching, and obviously you would have to add, that's going to translate into winning in 2025. That is insane to make those comments. That team is not winning next year. I'm sorry.
I agree with you. I don't. This team that they have, and this will not be their team. I mean, to be fair to them,
I get it.
Springer's going to be back. Varsho's been good. Like, Varsho, based on his numbers, he's been hitting recently. Defensively, he's a stud. He runs the bases well. Like, he's given them pretty good value.
Right.
Kirk has been better recently, but they need to fill a lot of holes. They need to figure out who's playing third base every day, who's playing second base every day, who's going to be your DH, who's going to be the other guy playing catcher every day, who's playing left field. Like, those are a lot of holes on top.
So is that what they're doing with these kids? Saying, "Oh, it's nice watching you play, but by the way, we're bringing in a veteran stud next year. You're not even going to see the field."
I would think so. I think there's a chance they have a very good bench and good depth, right? Like, I think there's a chance you might have something here with Horowitz and Barger and Lou Perfino, and, you know, there's a couple of kids here. And I would guess one of them, maybe two of them, will end up being everyday ball players for this team next year. But they need to add, like, at least a couple of, like, power bats. And how are they going to do that? You know, Juan Soto, obviously, go talk to him. He's not coming up here. They're not going to get him. He's going to stay with the Yankees. So you better get really creative. You know, I don't know who else is out there. Pete Alonso's out there. How much are you going to pay him? What else is available via trade? I don't have those answers right now. Nobody necessarily does. But they need at least 2 more big bats in that lineup. And that's asking a lot, on top of a couple of arms in the rotation and basically turning over the bullpen, or hoping the guys who were hurt all year return to form and you put something together. There's just so many things that have to go their way.
That's
so many things.
Go. Like, Bo got hurt, 3 separate times this year?
Mm-hmm.
Is that, like, he barely played, felt like. I mean, you know,
yeah,
honestly. Like,
exactly. I mean, but let's say you pencil Bo in. Like, Bo didn't forget how to play baseball. Like, it's been a disastrous season for him. He's still young. He can still play. Let's assume he plays 145 games next year, 150 games, and he plays the same way he did the previous 3 years on average. Okay, perfect.
Right.
There's a bat you've added. But Springer's a year older. You know, is Alejandro Kirk, is he capable of giving you a full season of production? He's done it once. I don't know if he can.
Past this guy,
possibly,
I don't know.
but then, you know, you just traded Danny Jansen. Do you have anyone in the wheelhouse? Do you have kids coming? It's been a disastrous season for their farm system. The amount of arms that have been injured. Aurelvis Martinez obviously suspended. Maybe he's a part of the program next year. They're probably hoping Martinez is a guy that they can rely on, but I don't know if they can rely on him based on the fact that he's currently suspended for taking PEDs.
That catching position I look at all the time. I say you had the kid, Moreno, and you could have had Danny Jansen mentor him, and it could have been a beautiful kind of rotation until the kid was an absolute stud. And now you've got Kirk behind the plate, and that's
who you're committed to.
I know, and it bothers me that that's the decision that they made, because it's clearly the wrong one.
Yeah. I mean, I think you're right, and like Brian Servin's not a part of the future. They have to address that position. Like, these are big positions.
Yes.
Varsho will play center field, Springer will play right, Vladdy will play probably first, Kirk's probably behind the plate, Bo's at short. Okay.
It's
good start,
too much. Like, Hayes, you've always said, and I remember you saying this even last year, like, regardless of the team and sport, it's just they're not one player away from the next level. Like there's several players away, and then you need health, and you need the players that are coming back off injury to regain form. But it's they're not just, okay, hey, we had a bad season because there were some injuries and some inconsistencies. Like there's some major work to be done here. And does Atkinson Shapiro have the leash to do it?
Well,
like, are they? That's my question.
That's the question. Like Mark Shapiro said on the record, I believe he said the words World Series. I'm pretty sure he said World Series. We believe we can compete for a World Series or championship next year. So it's not, because that's another thing. Like competing for what?
No way
Competing
in hell
for the
he said
third
that.
wild card spot?
No way in hell he said that. No way in hell he said that.
Positive he said either World Series or championship.
Doogie, find the clip tomorrow, and I'll blow my top off.
Find
on the show
it.
if
Forget
you find
tomorrow.
It.
Find it for 6:30. Go back. Shapiro spoke last month. He did a press conference. He came out. You know, he wouldn't fully commit to Atkins and stuff in the future, but he basically said, I'm a believer in consistency. He thinks that that's an asset. So it was effectively sounding as if Atkins will return, Schneider will return. They believe in this team, and they think they can win a championship next year. That sounds desperate, but it also sounds like a guy that realizes he has one more year to prove that he can do it. And if he can't, then he's probably in big trouble.
It's not desperate. You know what it is? And here's a great word in this industry. It's misleading.
Yeah.
Delusional is probably even
misleading
more.
is better.
You like misleading more than
well,
delusional?
It's a little nicer. Delusional's
harsh.
Tough word.
It's
that's
harsh. And Mark's not a delusional guy.
No.
But he is. I think he can be a misleading guy. Yeah. When you speak with the media, he can be misleading.
It's a veteran broadcaster word, and the word is misleading.
Yeah, it is.
I like that word. It is
really
softer,
is.
but it's also, it's sharp.
Yeah,
it's a sharp word.
Yeah.
All right. So we were in Hamilton. I guess, 2.5 months ago we were in Hamilton?
Yeah, late June.
Late June we were there. And I remember we had Mackenzie Hughes on, and this was before the Olympic Games and obviously before the President's Cup. And we asked him, if you could choose one or the other. You can go to the Olympics or you can go to the President's Cup. What do you think? Which one would you choose? He did not think on that for more than a millisecond. He said President's Cup. Yeah. Get me to the President's Cup at Royal Montreal. Well, that is precisely what's going to happen, as it was announced earlier in the week by Mike Weir that Mackenzie Hughes is on his way to Montreal playing for the international team. And sure enough, Mac joins us now. Mac, congrats. How cool has the last 48 hours been knowing that you're going to Royal Montreal?
First off, what's up, boys? Nice to be on the show. Good to hear you guys. But yeah, the last couple of days have been really exciting. Obviously, we were up in Montreal the last couple of days, playing the course, doing a little team bonding. So that was a really cool experience. And yeah, I mean, I've actually known since last Monday, so it's been a hard secret to keep. I've wanted to tell a lot of people and had to keep it quiet, but yeah, like I told you guys back in June, this was the big one for me this year, and I couldn't be more fired up.
Did you see Weirsy's number pop up, or how did the transaction go down when you found out?
Yeah, so that Monday, we kind of were all, guys that were, on the fence knew he was going to call that day. And so basically just have my phone on loud, which, I never do. But when I'm expecting big calls, or from you guys, I keep my phone on loud. But, it was just, I was actually at my son's baseball practice, and it was getting kind of late. It was almost 7 o'clock, and I thought, man, maybe it's not going to happen today. Maybe it'll be tomorrow. And so I'm now I'm fully into his practice. I'm not really coaching, but I'm helping coach, and I'm running the bases and helping the team kind of practice. And I'm holding my phone, and it starts buzzing. And I look down, and it says Mike Weir. So I immediately take off towards the outfield, catch my breath, pick the phone up, say, hey, what's up, Mike? How's it going? And I kind of explained to him I'm at my son's baseball practice, and he's like, "Oh man, do you need me to call back?" I'm like, "No, I've got time. I got time." And it was funny because the way the call started out, he kind of said, "Hey, we've had a tough couple days deliberating and making some tough decisions, and had to make some tough phone calls." And I thought, "Oh man, all right, here we go. I'm gonna get the bad news here." And then he kind of flipped it on me and was like, "Hey, you're on the team. You made the team, and we couldn't be happier to have you." And from that point on, I pretty much just blacked out, and I don't even know really what I told him or what I said, but I was just, my heart was just pounding with excitement. And to hear him say that, I've been on the other side of that phone call. The last time I was in Charlotte, I got the bad phone call, and the disappointment of that phone call and the ecstasy of this one. They're so far apart, and I've been on cloud nine for the last week or so.
So you get the call, but you got to kind of keep it under wraps. How do you navigate that, especially with your close family and friends? Obviously, you probably tell your closest loved ones. Who's the first call you make, or your second call, really? And then you got to tell them that zip it until the news come out, type of thing.
Yeah. I that night I called my mom and called my in-laws, and that was the only calls I made that night. And they were sworn to secrecy, or they were out of the family. And then basically throughout that week, I had told a few, other my sisters and my brother-in-law, told a few close friends I could trust. But that was pretty much it. There was maybe a small circle of 10 or 12 people that knew. But it was so tough because there was people asking me about it all the time, and telling me, "Oh, I hope it works out for you." And I just kept kind of playing along, I hope I get that call. Meanwhile, I knew, so yeah, it was tough, but obviously I knew good things were coming as of yesterday. So it was a really cool phone call to get, and obviously, like I told you guys, this was the one I wanted more than anything.
Mac, you talk about heading up to Montreal and doing the pre-scout on the golf course and team building and camaraderie, and all those things go into a team sport, which you guys play for Mac Hughes and Siwoo Kim and all the other guys that, they're individuals. But how does that translate into, it seems like President's Cup, Ryder Cup, it's just playing good and rolling the rock. You got to make putts in that format to do damage. How does all the things, the pre-scouts and the camaraderie, go into making a bunch of putts? Because that's what it seems to take against this U.S. team.
Yeah. Obviously, I think the international side has a bigger challenge than the U.S. side, in that we're bringing, a bunch of guys together that, different cultures. You got, Koreans, you got a Japanese player, you've got Australians, South Africans, Canadians. You've got so many different cultures and personalities that you're bringing together, and you're trying to play as one. And the more you come together as a team, the more you bond as a team, I think the better the golf that you can bring out that week. And so I think the 2 days that we spent in Montreal was really important for us to get comfortable, to get to know each other a little better, and have some laughs. And it was really fun. And obviously then playing the course and getting an idea for just the lay of the land, the greens, some of the pin locations can give us a slight edge as we, go into tournament week and, like you said, need to make putts. But I also think that he's got a few guys on the team that, have been rolling the rock pretty well this year, myself included. And, that's something that I know that I'm kind of there to do. And, I do a pretty good job of that. So I'm pretty excited to be able to have some of those moments where I can, be the guy that rolls in the big pot at the right time and give this team some big energy.
With Mackenzie Hughes, who's off the Royal Montreal, the President's Cup coming up later this month in Montreal, and the lobbying towards Mike Weir and the co-captains, et cetera, for just getting onto the team, I'm assuming is just kind of a part of it in terms of lobbying now for your role on the team, and the first couple of days where it's a team event effectively. Or you're going out there as foursomes or whatever, and then you've got the final match play, which everyone's going out. There's so many different points that are on the line. Like, how do you approach that, Mac, in terms of chatting with Mike and chatting with whoever's helping him to try to make sure that they can bring out the best in you? Do you feel like you have to do that, or do you just sit back and wherever they're going to put you, they're going to put you? Do you have a voice in that? Do you try to talk about who you think you'd be comfortable playing with, who you want to play against? Like, how much of that happens between now and actually starting the event?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think in the last, I'd say in the last 3 or 4 President's Cups and even Ryder Cups, I think both sides have really leaned into analytics side of things, and there's still obviously like gut decisions that you have to make, and I think Mike made some gut decisions with some of the picks as well, but. You use stats to help aid those decisions. And I think as far as pairings go for, who I might play with, the captains and Mike have a great idea of who I match up well with. And honestly, I'd play with any of those guys and would feel comfortable doing it with any of them. But obviously, there's a few guys on the team that I'm really close with, Corey and Taylor especially. And, if I went out with either one of those guys, I would obviously feel like, it would feel like I'm playing with a brother, really. And there's a lot of power in that. But at the same time, I'm not really in their ear telling them what to do. My job is to play great with whoever they pair me with. And, I pretty much made it clear to Mike and the captains that, whatever they ask of me, I'm there for. And whatever my role is, whoever I need to play with, whoever I need to play against, it doesn't really matter to me. So, I'm just going to be the ultimate team guy, and however I can be used and whoever I need to play against, that's what I'll do.
Weirzy, your captain, had a dream/crazy scenario where on the Sunday he gets an individual matchup with the GOAT. He's out there with T-Dub, and it was amazing. I mean, he won the match, I believe. Have you put together any scenarios that would be your Weirzy versus Tiger out there where everyone is following and it's just crazy?
I mean, I don't think I've envisioned, who that player is necessarily. Like, I mean, to be fair, there's not really someone that would compare to playing against Tiger. And that's no offense to Scottie. I mean, Scottie's obviously the number one player in the world. There's no doubt about that. But he's still, I just don't compare anyone to Tiger that, is in this generation, really. I mean, and it's not even fair to Tiger, really, to compare anyone to him. So when Mike played Tiger, it was a totally different animal. But I have had that moment and those dreams, I guess, of like coming down Sunday and my match being the deciding match, and making a clutch putt on 17 or 18, and being the deciding factor and clinching the cup, and it doesn't really matter, I guess who it is in the U.S. side. It would be just as satisfying to beat any of those guys. But certainly if you were to beat Scottie head to head, that would be a huge deal. But I've definitely envisioned myself being the guy that wins it and that brings the cup home for us. But that'd be a dream come true scenario, and I think this team has a really good chance of doing that. The last 2 times that this has been played internationally, both in I guess it was Australia and then Korea. it was really, really close. Basically came down to like the last match or two and could have gone either way. So I think that this team has what it takes and has, a great chance to do that. And I would love to be a part of that.
With Mackenzie Hughes, speaking of Scheffler, I'm sure you saw the report. Iman Lynch reporting today that Scottie and Rory are going to take on Brooks Koepka and Bryson DeChambeau in some made-for-TV event, which would suggest PGA LIV, it's softened considering where we were a couple of years ago as a tour card member and as a proud, PGA Tour player. What do you make of that, the idea of Scheffler and Rory, playing against Koepka and DeChambeau?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's good that they're kind of putting the swords down and doing something that I think people would actually enjoy watching. I think that there would be people that would be very engaged in that and, find that enjoyable to watch. So you don't get to see those guys compete against each other now as it is really just in the majors. So, to have that come together this year, considering where we were maybe even last year, would be kind of hard to believe. So, maybe it's a good sign of things to come. And, I would love nothing more than to kind of put some of this stuff to bed and sort of stop talking about it so much. But I think it's definitely going to be good TV and something that people are going to want to watch.
Speaking of where the tour is at, Mac, do you guys get any updates? Because apparently there was this deal that was going to be struck and there was going to be some clarity on the future of where it was going and what was going to be allowed and who could play where. Do you have any kind of personal update on that or where that's at? Because it's kind of died off into nothing.
Yeah. I was pretty invested in that and wondering what was going to happen for quite a while. And obviously, the initial deadline was December 31st of last year. So to be where we are now in September of 2024, it's I really have no idea. I'd like to think that they're getting closer, but we don't. We get the updates kind of how you get them, like when Jay spoke at Eastlake and basically said, we're progressing and we're continuing to chat and talk, and I mean. That's basically what we hear as well. So, I mean, I really can't give you a whole lot of information. I wish I could.
By the way, that to me means they haven't done anything. When somebody says, we're chatting and making progress when it's dragged on that long, that to me means they haven't even spoke.
Well, and to me, my opinion on this stuff is that, when this all happened last year, I mean, they should have gone to New York and sat in the boardroom for 2 weeks straight. Until they figured out somehow, some way to resolve this thing and get both sides to be happy. But just you don't leave that boardroom unless you're sleeping or eating food for lunch. But besides that, you're just you're in that room and you don't leave until you figure out how you're going to get it done. And to me, if you're serious about getting it done, I mean, this thing would have been done a year ago. I got. Not a high degree of faith that, anything's really going to happen, but I guess you never know.
Before we get you out of here, we got to ask you, are you playing Dundas Valley as a +7 handicap?
Oh, yeah, probably. I think that would probably be fair. I generally play when I'm here in Charlotte off +6, so maybe, home course, play off +7. Yeah, that's probably about right.
We had an argument is it an argument that we had?
Well,
at the start of the
we
show,
mentioned that Scheffler last week said when he's at his home course, he's playing off a +7, which I guess is about as low. I just feel like that's not enough, man. He should be like a +9 or something, +10.
Yeah. You're agreeing with that, Mackenzie?
Well, do you know what? Yeah, do you know what's funny is that when I heard that, and the next day I was going to play with some guys that I was giving shots to, and I said, well, Scottie plays off +7, so that makes me a +4, I think. I think I'm going to play off +4 today, guys. So I was lobbying for a couple extra shots. I'm like, well, if Scottie's a +7, I mean, I'm not as good as Scottie, so we need to adjust my strokes here. I think plus 7 is a little bit.
Sandbag.
I don't know.
It's a bagger, man.
He's sandbagging his buddies. I think,
that's a bagger.
Let me ask you
Scottie,
this: as a plus 6,
Scottie is winning the match on the first tee.
Yes, exactly. Just hand him the money on the first tee.
Mac, as a plus 6, who gets your attention? Is it a 0 that could go out there and shoot 67, or is it like a 10 that you got to give 16 blows to? Like, who kind of gets your attention where it's like, this guy could really cause me problems out there?
It's probably more so the 10. I think the 10 that I'm giving 16 blows to, like, if he has a pretty nice day and is, like, banging out a bunch of pars, like, I'm in trouble. I'm just like, this guy, this mother, you know what, is just wearing me out. And, I go out there and shoot 67 and get drummed, and I'm just like, God dang it.
Yeah.
Typically, I just feel like you don't see too many zeros go out there and shoot 67, but you sometimes get that 10 that goes out there and shoots like a 78, and you're just like, yeah, this guy got
you're
me
toast,
today.
man. I am that guy. And you know what would happen is you'd have the tee on a par 3, you'd throw into 3 feet, and I would chunk it and say, I don't care, take this hole. I'm going to par the next one, and I'm going to par the one after that, and that's exactly what it would be. Like the ones, because he may shoot 82 at like 4 of the holes, he triples or whatever, but if he pars 12 of the next 14, you're in big trouble.
Yeah. I've gotten more used to playing with guys that like I have to give shots to and play. I play member golf and I play at Quail, and I'm accustomed to giving shots, but man, it's so much nicer when I just like get on the tee with like if I play, if I go play Corey Connors or I go play Penn, like we're just playing head to head. I just know, hey, if I make birdie, I'm going to beat this guy on this hole, or but I made birdie and we tied, and my partner made a 4 for 3. I'm like,
it's loser life. It's for losers.
Man,
it's sickening. It is sickening. Well, so let me ask you then, before we get you out of here, like if you were playing at Scheffler's home course, would you ask for a stroke, or would you be too embarrassed to do that? Like,
No, I would never. I think JT spoke about this last week at Eastlake, but he's like, I'd be pissed if he was like, hey, do you want a shot on this guy? And I'm like, yeah, I'd be the same way. I don't want any shots. I don't want any charity.
Yeah.
I trust myself that I can go out there and hang. But yeah, he's obviously pretty good, but there's no one that I want shots from ever.
Okay.
So I
like it.
Yeah, I'm gonna beat you straight up. I'm gonna beat you.
I appreciate that. I love it. Yeah. All right, Mac. Well, we'll see you in Montreal, man. It's going to be awesome. Like you said, you're there. Pendra's there. Corey's going. It's going to be a blast. We're in Montreal in a couple of weeks. So good luck gearing up for that, and we'll do it again soon. Thanks for this.
All right. Thanks, boys. We'll talk soon.
You got it. There's Mackenzie Hughes.
Yeah, you probably texted him to say, great question.
That
is a dirty rat move. It's a rat move.
Now I thought about that. I'm like, okay, is this – and it was a great question, but I was thinking, I'm like, that might have been a backdoor. It might have been a backdoor. Like, hey,
I thought it was a great question, man. I guess
I can see the text right now. Hey, Mac, when you hear my voice, say great question.
I love, too, that he goes, the 10 handicap is such a gutless weasel on the golf course.
It is. The 10 handicap is not even an athlete at golf. It's a rat.
It's a rat, gutless golfer, and I know it because I am it. It's right in the middle where you're good enough to play decently. You can't beat the good players straight up, like not even close. But you can weasel your way around the course where you're in it, and you give a 4 for 3, and you're like
a 10 handicap that can shoot 78 is a
dangerous
terrorist.
individual.
It's a terrorist on the golf course. It is
exactly. It's a very dangerous person. If you're a 10 and you can shoot a 78,
you are the biggest
unbeatable.
Rat. It makes me sick to think about that guy because I know that guy.
He's a sick individual.
Yeah.
He's a disgusting person.
Yeah, he has a suitcase full of money in the trunk of his pickup truck. That's what he's got.
And it really is. It's gutless. Like there's no other way around it.
And the thing about the 10 that does that, he pars the hardest holes all the time for fun.
Always. When he's
Yeah.
popping. He's like, am I popping here? I will par this. And like I said, I know this from experience. Playing like you've seen me when the guy's off, it's like, all right, take that hole. I don't care. Like it's like you can birdie a hole or eagle a hole, and it's like the guy you're playing against just like had a quadruple bogey and picked up.
He doesn't care
It's
because he'll
irrelevant.
par the next 4 for birdie and just be
Exactly.
like, he'll be waving at you with his rat face.
Right. And just wait. Exactly. Hat off on the 18th. How are you guys
the
doing?
handshake,
Great. That was a
Eddie.
lot of fun, guys.
Yeah.
Had a lot of fun. Let's do that again.
But don't you find it weird how 10 handicaps, 15 handicaps, they win everything? Like, I thought the best golfers were supposed to win everything.
Well, again, it's relative, and there are times where the
No,
low
it's
caps.
not, man.
If your cap is dialed in, then the numbers should be fine. Heads up. It's like if you're the problem is if you're competing with a bunch of like if you're a scratch and you're taking on a tournament full of 10s, you're not winning.
That's
Someone's
right.
going to
Which
get you.
I
Like,
think the
someone's gonna
scratch
get
should
you.
have more of an honest chance to win, but
I
it's
agree
never the
with that.
case.
I
Do you know,
agree with
I was reading on Twitter there was a deep dive into people that were cheating in scramble tournaments.
Yeah.
Do you know how disgusting that is?
I know that's like legitimately like.
Like, you should go to jail for that. Cheating in a scramble. A bunch
Jail
of guys
time.
with pot bellies and beards are
Yeah.
shooting 50 in a scramble.
I know it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
All right, best bets brought to you by FanDuel still to come. Jerry's After Dark still to come. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2. All right, best bets brought to you by FanDuel later in the hour. Jay's losing again this afternoon, but we have the Shapiro clip from last month. You guys want to hear what he had to say about
Can't wait.
the plans for 2025? Okay, this is from the horse's mouth. This is Mark Shapiro, the president of the club. So what he said about their plans for next season.
The decision coming out of the deadline and the decisions that we made there are representative of that was that we believe that there's enough talent in place to build a contending championship caliber team next year. Had we not, we would have made a different set of decisions. So that being said, that work will need to be done to both make sure we continue to develop the players here, identify players that could possibly contribute that are in our system but aren't here, and understand, what to expect from our veteran players, and then do a better job of putting all that together and supplementing externally. So there's a lot of work still to be done before, we can make definitive statements about 25, but that intent is clear.
Championship.
Sorry, man. I'm
Championship.
Sorry.
That's the word he used.
Yeah, but
That is
Championship.
what Noodles. What is the word I used to describe that type of talk? What did I say that was?
misleading.
Yes, that is that. I know you brought up guys like Varsho and Springer, but I'm sorry, them mixed in with Vladdy.
Will Wagner has been good. I mean, these are young guys, and I think it's very foolish to apply August, September meaningless baseball statistics to next year when you restart, because like the Orioles aren't going anywhere, the Yankees aren't going anywhere.
Dude,
That's
you
who you're
saw
chasing
the
within
look
your
of
own
those
division.
guys yesterday. That team with the Phillies, like they just look different, man. They look like
Yeah,
grown
they're
ass
better.
men. Yeah,
They're better.
They're bigger. They're stronger. They're just better.
Mm-hmm.
They're better looking. All of it.
Everything across the board is
Yes.
positive in Philly, and it's not in Toronto this year.
I thought he chose his words carefully. He said championship caliber. Like basically saying we believe we've got some pieces in place to be a championship caliber type
But
of
Noodles,
team.
how
We
could
got
you
some work to
possibly
be.
think that after the season you were having?
I
to jump from
understand
this
that.
season to say next year we're going to be a championship
How
caliber
many,
team.
how many games are they going to win this year? They going to get to 85?
No, nowhere close. No, man, they're
get,
what are they? 67 and
oh, geez,
74.
yeah, sorry.
They're. I mean, they might get to.
75.
Yeah, do they get
78?
77? Maybe they're 80. Maybe I don't think so, but like maybe if they get red hot down the stretch. But I would say 75 wins. Something like that.
So they're going
that's
to make
probably what
enough
you're looking at.
transactions to make 15 to 17 more victories next year? I don't know, man.
Or more. I mean, you need, if you can get to 78 or whatever, you need.
Yeah, they got to get to high
15
80s.
more
Like
wins,
that's
yeah.
and again that is not championship caliber in terms
A
of you
championship
showing
caliber team wins between 95 and 100
Right.
I was just going to say that's
Exactly.
where they need to go is 20 more wins.
Yes. Like the Yankees and the Orioles are going to finish with over 90 wins for sure. The Phillies will finish probably with 95, the Dodgers 97. Now, again, once you get to the playoffs, it doesn't. What happened in the regular season's somewhat irrelevant. You just got to be healthy and ready to be hot at that right time. But that's what's misleading. Is what it's like you're moving the goalposts here. What are we really talking about in terms of competition? Are we talking hopefully you can win 87 games and backdoor into the playoffs? Like, is that good enough?
No.
Better than this, but is that really?
That's not championship caliber.
That's not championship caliber. That's not legit.
Championship caliber.
Yeah, it sounds.
JP.
It's like Fergie almost a little bit. Can't confirm or deny if we're championship caliber.
I just think that's misleading, man. Because I truly believe, Hayes, and I don't know what you think. I just don't think that that's possible with that group of guys. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, unless they have the one of the great off seasons in Blue Jay history, and even that can be tough. You guys will remember, was it in 2012? I think when they made the Marlins deal and they brought in R.A. Dickey and they were terrible that year.
Okay,
like,
well,
all
let's
that
get Phillips on tomorrow
work.
and ask him if he can do a little bit of work and put together an offseason that would make them a championship caliber team. Give it to Joe from the Bridge and put it on that screen so I can look at it, so I can believe something. Because other than that, I just can't believe it.
I mean, Steve, I mean, it's a tough practice to do right now because you don't know who's fully available. Like, who is going to re-sign with
Why would you not know who's not available?
Well, I'm talking trades and stuff like that. You get to the offseason, some guys, maybe is Bo Bichette available? Like, how about the other way? Are they going to trade Bo or keep Bo? Is Bo one out?
That's an interesting one.
You know,
like,
he doesn't sound too interested to be here in some of those comments this year as well.
No, and that's been well reported as well, that, you know, he's not really interested in staying long term. So how you handle Bo Bichette is that's complicated though, because he's in his prime. He's had an awful season, awful. But if he's healthy and can play, he can help your team win. So if you're trying to build a championship caliber team, you're going to trade Bo Bichette for what? Future assets? How do they help you in 2025?
It might have to be more of an established player, maybe. Not established, the wrong word, but just different type of player, like a more. I don't know. I mean,
we'll see, man. That's
how old is Bo? Is he 20?
26.
Yeah. So I guess you're not really, unless it's like a 28 or 29-year-old guy.
Well, his value is tough to figure out too because of what's happened to him the last 2 years.
Right.
You know, like the last year and a half for Bo Bichette has been a complete write-off. Yeah, like it's not been something that looks anything like the player we know he used to be a couple of years ago, and I believe he will be in the future. But
he had the injuries this year, and he also had times where he was at the plate and he looked like he didn't even know what league he should be playing in.
Yeah. The year before, there were pockets where it was a mess. Like, his approach is well stated, man. He's aggressive. He swings a lot of swing and miss. You know, he's certainly not patient at all at the plate. I don't see that changing. But he is a guy that when he gets hot, he's going to put a lot of balls in play. He can hit for some power. You know, he hit, what do you have, over 200 hits a couple of years ago. But that's a big wild card. What happens with Bo Bichette this upcoming season, and how does that apply to the championship caliber of a team in 2025? I find it hard to believe. I find it very, very hard to believe. And again, the farm system, they can't bank on that because they have a bottom third farm system in baseball. It'd be one thing if you had 3 or 4 guys coming. You're like, these guys are ready to go. Like, 2 of them are going to help us next year. 2 of them are going to trade in the offseason and bring in a boatload. But they don't have that ability because they don't have that type of depth. Right. All right, Best Bets brought to you by FanDuel coming up. Little Gerry's After Dark as well coming up to wrap up the show. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
Welcome to Gerry's After Dark, where all of your wildest hot takes come to life. Because Gerry's always in the mood for one more, and you know exactly what I'm talking about.
All right, Gerry made his triumphant return this afternoon, and there's always time for one more
mega horny
hot take from Gerry. Let's get to it.
The Chicago White Sox will lose 110 or more games again next season.
I believe the worst ever. I want to say it's the 64 Mets, right? 120 losses. I'm pretty sure they're going to blow past that. here. Like they are 5-45 in their last 50 games.
I know, but we're talking about again next
I understand
year.
that, but let's say they finish with 125 losses this year. Do you think it's only 109 or fewer next year? Like, what's your Jerry's on them getting enough pieces together where it's not as bad?
Even Oakland, garbage Oakland of the last couple, they're not doing this.
Mm-hmm. This is historically horrendous.
This is almost impossible to replicate again next year.
Yeah,
I got to go. I'm going to go 4%.
All right.
You can't
I'm higher than
do
that.
it again.
I
I'll tell
hear
you what, though. Try getting a free agent to go there and play ball next year.
You got to pay
There's
a lot of
mission.
money. But I think wouldn't there be pressure from ownership to be like, we can't do this again. Like
so Noodles, the owner does that to the general manager. The general manager starts firing out calls to free agents. You want to come play with the White Sox? They're like, are you kidding me?
It's Jake Taylor and the Mexican League.
Yes.
Like, you're calling guys that have not been in Major League Baseball for years.
Or you're calling an agent that has 3 players and go, all 3 of them can come here and we're going to pay them extra to show up here too. Like you're going to have to overpay to get guys into your program. But then once you sell the vision and go, we're not going to have 125 losses here. We're going to get under 100 losses. Like, what if they got down to 100? That's a big win.
That's
right?
the goal. That's crazy. We were talking about the Jays. Like, what's the goal here? Their goal is to only lose 95 games next year. Right. That's what they're hoping for. That would be a substantial improvement. Probably the biggest improvement in the league will be the Chicago White Sox if they lose 100 games next year.
That's crazy.
62-100, it would be like, wow, what a turnaround. That's really great stuff. Like, really well done.
Championship caliber the next year.
Yeah.
That's what it would be. That's what they're going to sell.
I don't think, like, this team is so pathetic. They are so horrendous.
They are, dude.
That I honestly think there's a 35% chance they lose 110 games next year. Like, they're so bad. This team is they're 5-45 in their last 50. But they have nothing. They traded anything that would possibly resemble a team that would only lose 100
Dude, you know
times.
who it makes, like, who's so disgusted? I think Ozzie Guillen does, like, White Sox talk on Sports Chicago.
He's so mad.
Dude, he is so mad. He hates, like...
Who was it that... was it Gary Thorne? No.
Yeah, Gary Thorne was in Baltimore. He's
he's had enough.
Which, again,
I've had enough.
Interestingly enough, that clip we played was the new Baltimore Orioles play-by-play guy. Whoever succeeded Gary Thorne, now he's chirping the White Sox.
That's right. He's had enough.
That's how bad it is. Like, Gary Thorne had enough. He's like, I can't do this anymore. The new guy showed up, and now that guy's chirping the White Sox.
You know what? I'll tell you, like, the Baltimore Orioles, that is perfection of a rebuild. You got the right kids, and now they're studs, and you're not the high-spending Mets or the Yankees or the Dodgers, and you got really good damn players that are going to be there for a long time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right, Best Bets brought to you by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. I'm going to live bet one right now, speaking of the White Sox and the Orioles. Top of the first, Chicago's up 1-0. You can live bet the Orioles to win by at least 2 runs. You still got to pay juice. You got to pay minus 154. I would hammer it. I would live bet that I think Baltimore wins this game 8-3.
Really?
Yes. Chicago, I have no, like, if you can get the odds to drop it all on a live bet, in favor of the team that's playing Chicago, I think it's a sound play. Wow. I got one play tonight, though. Aaron Judge has not hit a home run in 8 games. He's in a big drought. For him, it's massive.
Yeah.
He's getting on the board. He's hitting a home run tonight. It's only paying plus 215. Might be actually down to plus 200. He's in Texas. That's where he hit number 62 last year, right? Or 2 years. Yeah, last year. That's when he passed Roger Maris. 2 years ago when he passed Maris for 62. And I think it happens tonight. I think he's hitting a home run. He's not going to hit number 62 tonight. It'll be number 52 tonight. But paying plus 215, I'm on it. Today's Best Bets powered by FanDuel. The first inning means as much as the ninth. When you bet baseball on the FanDuel Sportsbook app, please play responsibly. 19 plus, physically located in Ontario. Speaking of which, I guess they put up like a commemorative plaque right in front of the seat where he hit the 60-second home run. That plaque has been stolen.
Yeah.
Twice. And the team just said, screw it, we're not doing it anymore. And I don't even blame them. They try, like, it's not.
How does a guy at a baseball game, what does he bring, a toolkit to chisel that thing off? Like that thing would be glued heavily on that thing.
Yep.
It's stolen in the middle of the night. Some guy gets in there and finds his way into the stadium and goes and steals it then. That's what it is.
Possibly, but I don't blame Texas. It's not their record. It's not their player. They're like, we tried it, man. We did it twice for you. We're not doing this anymore. Yeah. We've had enough. We've had enough. Gary Thorne's had enough, so have the Rangers. So have we. All right, thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in. TV, radio, podcast, we appreciate that. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at...
Hayes, you're a lot like Shapiro. Misleading.
10 handicap.
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.
No, I've had enough.